You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, and thanks for coming back again to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail. This is days 7 to 9. I can tell you, I've had quite the 3 days. It's been testing for me. I think I've done okay, and I've had the opportunity to think about what I've done so far and try to regroup. And I think you'll find these 3 days encapsulate what it is about the Appalachian Trail that makes it so wonderful, makes it so challenging, and makes us want to do it more. I've tried to be as honest as I can about these things. I got a bit messed up a few times when I was trying to think about how I was going to phrase it all. But this has been an emotional time for me these last 2 or 3 days. But I'm feeling in a pretty good place now. Let's go back to, when was that? It's now Wednesday. Yeah. So let's go back to Monday, which is day number 7. Day 7, Unicoi Gap to Tray Mountain Shelter. I was contacted by one of our listeners, Misha Hardy, who let me know that she was shuttling in the area and would happily help me out. So I called her to get me back to Unicoi Gap from Helen. And in case you need a shuttle in the area, just call Misha on 706-309-0311. She's very reliable and turned out to be quite a help the next day as well. Now, the weather forecast was bad for this Monday night, but far worse for the Tuesday night. We'd heard that the temperature was going to drop to the teens on the Tuesday. We didn't know what it was going to be like on the Monday, but we thought it would be okay. Many people planned to get off at Dix Creek Gap and stay at the top of Georgia to wait out the lousy weather. But through Misha, I chose to stay somewhere else, but I'm going to tell you about that tomorrow. Anyway, as always out of Gaps, the climb was really intense. Only a 6.3 mile hike and 2 major climbs, so I really took my time. And I recall going up Tray Mountain when I first did this hike in 2014. It really has some memories for me, which came back later on. And along the way, I bumped into 3 guys out hiking together. They were a guy called Tank and another one called Physical, out for a 10-day section, as well as Papa Smurf, who was, I think, doing a through hike. I thought it'd be nice to interview some section hikers and see what their take of the trail was. So I made a note to talk with them later at camp after our short hike. Still, I was still thinking this was going to be quite an easy day and no real problems, but I certainly had some problems. And I was hiking with these guys anyway, so there were 4 of us in a line, and we took a short break at Indian Grave Gap, and one of the girls mentioned that a woman called Wednesday would be along soon. Suddenly there was a shout, and Wednesday turned up. She said, "Hi to me." She said, "I'm Leanne." It was Leanne Hogan, who's one of the members of the Mighty Blue class of 2019. So this was my first one I actually got in touch with directly. So, introduced, Leanne and I hiked together up Tray Mountain. I really, really, really loved the hike. There was an increasing amount of frost on the trees the higher we climbed. We knew the weather was going to turn. We'd heard about this polar vortex a few weeks ago, didn't we? I'm not sure it was a polar vortex we were facing now, but we could see on the trees how cold it was the higher up we got. So we took loads of pictures because it was so darn beautiful. Eventually we got to the top, and there's the little blue path off to the shelter. It is very high. It's one of the higher mountains in Georgia anyway, and the shelter's very high and very exposed. So I set up my tent, and it was beautiful then. It was still very, very sunny, and so I don't think we really felt the full impact of the colder weather. I had a quick lunch, and so I took time for a couple of interviews. And the first ones I spoke to was 3 young girls who turned up at the shelter, not one of whom looked much older than 15. So I took the chance to chat with them first as they were spreading out their gear. Okay, I'm at Tray Mountain Shelter with 3 young women. We thought there weren't going to be anybody with us today, but these 3 young women, between them, their ages do not add up to my age. So firstly, can you introduce yourselves?
I'm Grayson. I'm from New Jersey. I'm 18 years old.
18 years old. My gosh.
I'm Lucy. I'm from Oregon, and I'm 19.
I'm Charlotte. I'm from Canada, and I'm 21.
So how did you guys decide to hike the trail? I think you're the separate one, aren't you? You
Yeah.
just joined up with the girls.
I met them 2 days ago at Neal's Gap
Yep.
at Mountain Crossings.
So why did you decide to get on the trail?
Why did I start?
Why did you decide to get on the trail? Yeah.
I hiked the long trail 2
did you?
years ago. Yeah, and I met some AT through hikers, and it sounded like a fun thing to do.
And is it working out for you so far?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it.
Good. It's a cold night. It's going to be a cold night tonight.
Yeah, it was cold last night. My socks froze, but
You got enough warmth in your clothes to keep you warm.
yeah. I think I'll be good tonight.
Okay. Now you two are friends. You've known each other sometime, have you?
We've known each other 5 or 6 months or so. We did an outdoor leadership semester in the Southwest this fall together, and I was planning to through hike the AT, and Lacey decided to come along.
Wow. So you weren't thinking about it. You got your friend said you said that'd be a good idea.
I decided like a month ago.
Oh my gosh. So how have you put together all your gear? Quickly, no doubt.
Okay.
By the way, she's stuffing food into her face as we speak.
So hungry. Well, I had a backpack and I took my dad's like tent and stuff.
Right.
And then I applied for a lot of jobs this spring, but like nothing worked out.
Okay.
So I just kind of like didn't have anything else to do.
Right. So so not only you don't have a job, you didn't know what you were going to do this. So you put all your stuff together. Are you warm enough at night? Mm-hmm. Good. That's good. That's the important thing.
I've like backpacked before, so I had my like.
All right. So you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So when you guys plan to finish this, what do you think?
I have no idea. We're just going day by day, but maybe July or August.
Good for you. Good for you. I tell you what, people on the show know I love the fact that young women are brave enough to come out and do this, because this ain't easy, is it?
Yeah, it's a lot harder than I expected.
I'm sure it is. But I wish you the best, and I hope it goes well for you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. They were such lovely girls, and I really did like the fact that these young women, they didn't care. They just wanted to get out there, and they were really, I don't know, they were just living the life. I must say though, the girls did give us cause for concern a little bit later, but I'm going to come to that in a minute. Next, while they were fixing their lunch, I had a word with Tank and Physical, the 2 section hikers I mentioned earlier on. Listen to what Physical is named Physical. Now, at Tray Mountain Shelter, I'm also here in a very freezing day with icy trees and everything, with Frank, or Tank. Yep. And I don't know the other guy's real name. What's your real name?
Shane.
Shane. He's got the trail name of Physical. And firstly, I'd like you to explain, because it's not in the least bit true.
So the reason my initial trail name was Tin Cup, and it was kind of boring. So I wear this buff because I sweat like a pig, and
Nice.
It reminds people of the video from the 80s Physical by Olivia Newton-John. So they gave me the name Physical.
So I know this is only an audio podcast, but trust me, there is zero resemblance between Shane, or Physical, and Olivia Newton-John. So you guys are out here for a section hike, quite a long section hike, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where did you start?
We started at the approach trail
Okay.
on the 24th. And we were initially headed to the NOC, but we're not going to make it anywhere near the NOC.
So what?
Yeah, that's true. So what? Georgia was a little more challenging than we thought. But
Tough, isn't it?
yeah, it is very tough, but it's very, very beautiful. That's what I'm very, very impressed by.
And the trail's great, isn't it? Don't
It
you
is.
think so?
It is great. It is great, and the people are just wonderful.
And the hike up today wasn't that extraordinary?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was very doable. I think that as hikers, I think both Physical and I have improved, meaning that when we first started hiking, we would stop a lot, but now we've learned to, go real slow, but never stop.
How are you enjoying it? Because apparently you've had moments when you wish you weren't here.
Yes, I had a really tough fourth day here, physically, emotionally. Also quit smoking the day that I started.
Yeah.
So I've been going through that.
How's that working out for you?
It's good now. But today has been my day, so I'm very happy to be on the trail today.
And hasn't it been glorious coming up through these icy trees?
You would have to be here to believe how beautiful it is.
It's magical. It's really magical.
It truly is. Well, look, we're going to be around you for the next couple of days, probably. You're finishing Friday.
Yes.
Yep, it's finishing Friday.
So good to meet you guys, and thanks for talking to us.
Same here.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
I love that. Trust me, you would not mistake him for Olivia Newton-John. But I must say, he took the whole thing in great spirit. Finally, Leanne and I sat on a log next to my tent, and I got some of her story so far. By the way, with the sun shining brightly at the top of the mountain and the temperature really tolerable, it could not have been a better spot to chat. Here's Leanne.
Well, this is Train Mountain Shelter, and I've interviewed virtually everybody here, but one person I haven't interviewed yet, which I'm about to do, because she's a member of the Mighty Blue class of 2019, in fact. Leanne Hogan. Hi, Leanne. How are you?
Hi, Steve. I'm great, thanks.
And funnily enough, you're no longer Leanne, apparently. Why are you Wednesday?
Everyone's waiting on Wednesday.
Right. So she's rather slow, but then we kept pace with each other all the way up today. So I think we hike about relatively similar pace, don't we?
I think so.
So tell us, you've done now 58, 59 miles, whatever it is. What's your first impressions?
Oh, self-doubts. Because it's like the struggle is real.
It is very real, isn't it?
The weather has been beautiful and brutal and beautifully brutal.
It has, isn't it?
Yes.
But you and I say we met actually on to today after the climb up out of Unicoi Gap. It was the next gap. They said we're waiting for Wednesday, and of course I had no idea that you were. And you walked in. I said hi, and you said I'm Leanne. So this is how we met. So what you started what date?
I started I got to Springer on the 21st. I did the approach trail on the 21st.
What do you think of the approach trail?
I did the alternate to the hike-in, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
What's that?
The hike-in is a hotel that you hike to.
All right.
And they feed you family-style dinner and breakfast.
Nice.
It's really a great way to do it.
Wow.
I enjoyed the approach trail that way.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. I've never heard. Typical of me, I don't know any of these things, to be honest with you. So in terms of what you expected, is this how you expected it to be so far?
It's harder than I expected.
Is it?
It is.
Or the physicality of it? Or the weather, or the
steepness,
rocks,
the rocks.
Yeah, the rocks are a thing, aren't they?
They are quite a thing.
I was not expecting those when I first did it, and even though I knew what they were like, then it still comes as another slap in the face when you do it a second time. Yeah, and it's tough to get used to, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But the rewards come in those gaps in between where the trail levels out a bit, and it's like, oh. Nice breather.
Well, you and I stood at the top of, I think, Rocky Mountain today, didn't we? And looked at the view up there. No, it was actually the top of Train Mountain itself, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
The view up there was extraordinary, wasn't it?
It was amazing. The frost line on the mountains, this frost like I've never seen before.
Yeah, same here.
It took me forever to get up the mountain because I wanted to stop and take pictures the whole way.
Yeah, I was doing something the same as well. But you say frost like you've never seen before, you're going to see it again tomorrow, only worse. Because tonight it's due to be in the teens, isn't it? How are you coping with this, the cold?
The cold has been okay, except, when you stop hiking, you're sweaty and cool off too fast.
Yeah, sure.
But at nights I've been sleeping warm. I've got good equipment.
I mean, you've got a 10-degree bag, haven't you?
I do.
Right. So are you where you thought you'd be at this stage?
No. I thought I'd be a lot further along.
Really?
I did.
Why?
Well, I didn't think I would be taking so many zeros, but I've...
So where have you zeroed so far? How many times have you zeroed?
I zeroed in Blairsville.
Right.
I took a day and a half. I took a Nero and a zero there.
Right.
I zeroed in Hiawassee, or Near Road in Hiawassee.
Right.
And in Helen also I took a 0 there.
But you know what? This is what we've got to do, isn't it? You've got to hike the height that you want to hike. When it's right for you to go into town, that's when you need to go into town, isn't it?
If you don't take a break, the trail will beat you.
Yeah, it's going to slaughter. Now, you're going to see a picture in the show notes of me talking with Leanne right now, and first grader just took a photo of us. We are sitting on a log right by my tent, which has this amazing view over the valley. Isn't it something?
It is beautiful. You just can't beat these views.
You really just can't. But congratulations on getting this far, and obviously we're going to hopefully keep in touch and along the trail. And 60 miles in, you know what? We're nearly 3%.
Well, we've almost beat Georgia.
I know
there's a lot to go yet.
It might be a bit too early to say. Okay, well, lovely to meet you and lovely to talk with you, and hopefully we're going to do it again later on in the year.
I do hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Leanne's on her way and getting accustomed to everything. Well, nearly everything, because then the temperature actually plunged. And I'm writing this and recording it the day after my that night, because I simply could not get my hands out of the sleeping bag to do the recording at the time. I don't know if you've read my books about my 2014 trip, but I had a pretty cold night on Train Mountain that year as well. And it's not surprising because it's such an exposed spot. It really is. Now, several of us expressed concern for the 3 young girls I spoke with earlier. We were still by the shelter at this stage after I'd spoken with Leanne, and the temperature was about to go down. And while we were by the shelter, we could all feel it go down. And these 3 young girls were in their sleeping bags in the shelter and clearly getting colder. Now, I know you're not supposed to do this, but some of us suggested that they should put up a tent in the shelter and all pile in. They did, and to be honest, I was worried about them, because even though the 3 of them were in a shelter, I'm not sure whether they had the wrong clothes or something, but I think the coldness was just hitting them. And I think actually in the shelter it seemed to be even worse. It was so exposed as well. But I then got into my own sleeping bag at the really advanced hour of 5 o'clock. I put on a bunch of clothes, and even though I felt warm, my anxiety stayed with me for most of the night. I was clenching my jaw really tightly. It was as if I expected to suddenly get colder and colder. And at one stage, I thought I had enough on already. I'd left off one of my base layers, and I thought, well, I've got to put it on. So I had to get out of bed and strip in the freezing cold to get my base layers back on again. And the cold inside the tent was really, really powerful. Well, I don't know how, but I got through the night and I emerged into the morning, and it was absolutely freezing again, wearing pretty much everything that I had. The only things I wasn't wearing were my second pair of socks, because funnily enough, my feet were quite warm. I was still wearing the socks I'd hiked in that day, which is actually 2 pairs, a silk pair, a liner pair, and my main woolen socks. And my feet were pretty warm all night long. So I got out of bed, so I wasn't wearing those socks, but I wasn't wearing my rain jacket and rain pants. I was wearing everything else. And it was freezing out there. And first grader, one of the guys who actually we spoke to the other day, said that the temperature at that time was 15 degrees, and that was after the sun had risen. What it was like the previous night, I just couldn't tell you. And I'm a pretty honest bloke about these things. I tell you, I was scared about it. I was scared, really. I didn't know whether I had enough clothes myself. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But it's excruciatingly unpleasant. But that was the night, and it was a very uncomfortable night for me. Day 8, Train Mountain Shelter to Dix Creek Gap. With the prospect of even colder temperatures going forward for a few days, I'd now decided that I had to get off the trail for 2 nights to allow both the weather to improve and to reassess my pack. I had an 11-mile hike to Dix Creek Gap, and I really didn't want to do as long as 11 miles on that day, but that was the only alternative. To get from Unicoi Gap to Dix Creek Gap is 17 miles, and Tray Mountain Shelter, despite its elevation and despite how cold it was, that was the best place for us to stay. So, I thought, well, 11 miles, I can do that. The profiling gut hooks didn't look too bad, but remember I'd gone out from wearing the previous night, and I was soon, of course, overheating because the day hadn't seemed too difficult from the gut hooks profile. There didn't seem to be too many ups and downs, but one by one I removed articles of clothing until I was down to just my base layer, my shirt, and my pants, which, when I think about it now, I probably shouldn't have even done that. The temperature was hovering around freezing, but we were getting so many climbs up and over mountains that really, I don't know, I was exhausted as well. I'd had a breakfast and all day long I ate nothing after that. I had water, but I didn't eat anything after that. And I don't think I've got the right sort of food in my pack, and I must get more snacks. And that's part of my rest day tomorrow, my 0 day tomorrow. This particularly nasty climb was up Kelly Knob. It was like we were traversing the mountain. You know, when a skier who's not very good skier skis down a mountain, they don't go from side to side. They just go from one edge of the mountain all the way across, sliding gently, hardly turning all the way across to the bottom of the mountain. Well, it was like that in reverse. We were going up and up and up and up and up. It seemed endless once more. And once again, I spent part of the day hiking near Leanne. We seem to have that similar pace. We both have rest breaks, severe rest breaks, I tell you, on the way up. But then as soon as we started cooling down, we had to start moving again, of course. And so the pace seemed to work out quite well. Eventually, I moved ahead and I headed downhill, what I thought was the final downhill, into Dix Creek Gap. There was another uphill there as well. So, oh my gosh, I was exhausted when I got there. I really was. Once again, I was met by the lovely Misha, and she drove me to the Misty Mountain Inn and Cottages. So it was a day of ups. It seemed like they were nearly all ups, but I did it. I did 11 miles. I'm now showered. I've eaten some pizza. And last night is just a memory, though it really is one that I won't forget in a hurry. Day 9, Misty Mountain Inn and Cottages. Yep, it's a 0, though I haven't been wasting my time. I must say in 2014, I took a couple of zeros that were a complete waste of time. I met up with Misha, her husband, Loki, and Craig, who runs the Misty Mountain. We had breakfast together at a local diner in Blairsville. It was great. I had eggs, bacon, and I was reintroduced for the first time for about 5 years, in other words, since I came last time, to French toast with syrup. Oh my gosh, that was great. After that, I'd made a list of things I needed. After that, I went with Loki and Misha to Walmart, where they did a bit of shopping. And I got some things. I think when I said I was tired yesterday, it was because I hadn't eaten. I didn't eat anything other than breakfast. So doing 6 hours of hiking, having no snacks along the way, and still not enough water, I've got to do better with my drinking water. I've always told everybody else you've got to do that. It was just too cold to stop and get more water, to be honest with you. But then in Walmart, I got some wraps, which I'm pleased to have. I got some salami. I got some bars. Things that I would normally have. So I think I've now got enough to be going for the next 4 days or so. And then after that, they kindly took me back to Mountain Crossings. I was trying to get some camp shoes and a few other items. Unfortunately, there were no camp shoes. Well, none of them were my size anyway. I need size 14s, and heights they went up to was 11s. So I'm going to have to suffer a little bit longer without any camp shoes. I will get some sent from home. But as I say, I didn't waste my time. I got back to the cabin. The cabin is so cozy, I tell you. And I got my sleeping bag out. I got my tent out. I set my tent up in the garden in front of the cabin and just let that dry out, let the air blow through it, which it did beautifully. I then got my sleeping bag and various other things that had just got damp the other night. Set them up really just in front of the air conditioning unit, kept warmth going and dried those out nicely. So I know everything's nice and dry for tomorrow. After that, I built a fire, and I could build a fire, and I used up every bloody log in the log basket, and I was battling it all afternoon. And after about 4 hours, it eventually went out, basically because I ran out of firewood. Anyway, also in the afternoon, I sat on the porch out here and I had a chat with Craig, who owns this place, or owns it with his parents, I think, and we talked about it.
Okay, I'm on with Craig Griffiths of Misty Mountain Inn and Cottages, and this place was suggested to me by Misha, my lovely drive around Georgia. And if you're looking for a break that's more than hostel, if you want somewhere you can rest and be comfortable and take a zero, I could not recommend this place more highly. And I'm not into advertising on the show unless somebody pays me for it, but Craig is not paying me for it. So, hi, Craig, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Steve, and I still expect you to tip as well.
Quite right, too.
Yes, sir.
So, how long have you been doing this, and tell us something about the place?
This is my third year doing hiker hosting. We've been doing the bed and breakfast and the 6 cabins behind it for about 3 years now. We bought it a few Octobers ago, and it was in a bit of a mess. It was a foreclosure and needed a whole bunch of maintenance, and all the cabins had a facelift and got a little bit of modernization and a big remodel. Whole lot of work, but it has been awesome. The hikers, that's my favorite time of the year.
I'm sure, yeah. And one thing I can tell you, if you think of coming here to spend your zero here, the sheets in this place are just extraordinary. And Misha's laughing over there because she told me about the sheets before I came here. And I was exhausted and cold coming off Train Mountain. I came here, I warmed up, and there's a fireplace as well. You can set yourself a fire. So what sort of traffic do you get here during the season? Are you pretty full most of the time?
We stay really full between March and April with just the single night, double night hikers, but you'd be amazed. I've got probably track record of at least half my through hikers will stay a second night spontaneously, sometimes a third, sometimes a week or so, depending on the weather.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
After that, we pick up with the summer crowd, the vacationers. They stay for a little bit longer, usually 3 to 5 days, and some of them will come up and stay for a month or at a time.
So what's your pickup? Where can you pick people up from?
Really, I do the entire Georgia section, but I can be really economical between Neal Gap, Tesnatee, Hogpen, and Unicoi. Those are all 10 or 15 minutes away.
So what number should people call if they want to get to know about the place?
706-745-4786.
I can tell you, he answers that phone all the time. We just had breakfast together. He's on the phone for about 4 or 5 times.
24/7. It's not unknown to be out in the middle of the night on a dirt road in a snowstorm trying to find the hikers.
Well, that's cool. Well, I really thank you for your hospitality. It's been absolutely gorgeous, and I couldn't recommend this place more highly. Thanks
I appreciate you staying as a.
Cheers.
I'll tell you what, I love this place. And I'll tell you why I love it particularly. It came at just the right time for me. I think that we all need time sometimes, to shake our heads after a punch in the face. And that's what it felt like to me. I think I've done pretty well with my hiking this week, but I do know that my internal spirit took a bit of a beating, by the other night. I really was shaken up quite a bit, and I think I needed to warm my bones, regroup, check out my pack, all of which I've done, and then get ready to head out again tomorrow morning. I'm still on track, and I'm still moving forward, and I'm heading to Maine. I'll see you next time.